Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over a southern winter storm. This is going to be impacting parts of Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and then maybe even into Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama, and some of those areas further east of there. We'll also talk about the slim chance that you could see some snow along the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, and we'll talk about how that could happen and what ingredients would have to be there for this system to actually move up the coast, because it is a possibility. We have a cold atmosphere in place, and we have even more cold air coming in behind this system. Some of these areas in Texas and Oklahoma, as well as New Mexico, could be dealing with maybe even closer to 3 or 4 inches, or maybe even a little bit more of snowfall. So this could be definitely an accumulating snowfall, and we'll be timing it out with you, and we'll also be giving you what the models are showing for this system. And by tomorrow's video, we'll have my snowfall forecast, at least for the first part of the system that moves through New Mexico, Texas, and Oklahoma. The second half of the system through the southeast and into the mid-Atlantic will probably wait another day to actually put out that snowfall forecast. But let's get right into it here, and let's start off with your current National Weather Service page. We have some winter weather advisories in California and Oregon, as well as some winter storm watches in Texas and New Mexico. This is from that system that we're going to be talking about in today's video. This is from that system that we talked about in yesterday, and actually the 2 days before. That's that system that's moving through parts of Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, and bring some snowfall there. We have some winter weather advisories in effect for parts of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and even into Kentucky and West Virginia. And then we have some winter storm warnings in that pink there for Georgia, North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, and Southern and Southwestern Virginia there. So other than that, it's a fairly quiet day over at the National Weather Service. They don't have too many watches and warnings, and that's because much of the northern part of the country is actually going to stay rather dry over the next couple of weeks. So here is the European high resolution model, and we're going to time this out for you guys with this system. This will be by Saturday right around 6 p.m. Central Time. And let's start off by talking about what the original atmospheric conditions are going to be like. We're going to have a steady flow of moisture coming out from the Gulf of Mexico, and what this is actually going to do is allow some of that colder air to slip in on that south side of the system, and then more of that warmer air will actually be pulled up further to the north, because this cold air will dig in so much that it'll displace some of that warmer air. So you might actually be dealing with some rainfall over eastern Texas and northern Texas, while in western Texas and central Texas, further to the south, you're actually dealing with some snowfall. So this is going to be one of those interesting type of systems. The rain snow line is going to be very, very crucial as to who gets the heaviest snowfall, and that's why I'm going to wait a day and just see what the models do overnight to actually put out that snowfall forecast, because a lot can still change even though we are so close. There are some major metro areas like Dallas and other areas that are within the path of the rain snow line, and that could change overnight. So by tomorrow morning, we'll have your snowfall forecast out for that storm. Again, this would be by 6 p.m. on Saturday. Here's by 9 p.m. Central Time on Saturday. We have more of that moisture being pulled up through eastern Texas, and then we have that snowfall being pushed up into northern Texas, northeastern New Mexico, the western panhandle of Oklahoma as well. And then you continue to see that by Sunday right around 12 a.m. Here's by 3 a.m. on Sunday. We're looking at more of that rain filling in on the map for southern Texas, and then for northwestern Texas, northern western parts of Oklahoma, and eastern parts of New Mexico. We're looking at some of that snowfall setting up. And then as we continue this forward, you continue to see that by right around, this would be by Sunday right around 6 in the morning, we're looking at some heavy or even moderate snowfall moving through parts of west central Texas. And then as we continue this forward, you start to see that snow, it continues to expand into central Texas, through into northern Texas as well. Notice where your 32-degree line is, and this is that blue line on that screen. Anywhere north and west of there is going to be below 32 degrees, and then anywhere south of there, that's where you're going to be above 32 degrees, and that's generally what your rain snow line is, because we will have colder air above, just above our heads in the atmosphere. You will have that freezing line right around 35 or 36 degrees instead of 32 degrees like it usually is. So some of that snow will actually get fairly far to the south, and this might be your first chance of accumulating snow, especially if you live over over northeastern Texas, where they haven't seen too much snowfall, as well for northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and northern Mississippi. You guys will also get your first chance of a decent snowfall this year. Now, this would be by right around 12 p.m. Central Time on Sunday. Western and northern Texas is dealing with quite a bit of light to moderate and maybe even heavy pockets of snowfall at times, with that rain snow line setting up over eastern Texas right here, and then we have some of that rain further to the south in southern and southeastern Texas. And then as we continue this forward, you start to see that by right around 9 p.m. On Sunday, and then here would be by 12 a.m. on Monday, or actually this would be by right around 9 p.m. on Sunday. We're looking at some of that rain snow mix for northeastern Texas and generally northern and eastern Texas there. And then we're looking at some of that rain setting up for southeastern Texas, western Louisiana, and that area. And then again, because we're seeing more of that warmer air being pulled up on that northern side, we're actually dealing with a little bit of rain near the Oklahoma-Texas border, and then we're dealing with snow further south of there. And that's something that might make this forecast a lot trickier, because we will have a very dynamic system that's going to be pulling in warm air as well as bringing down a lot of cooler air on that southern and western side of the system. Now, here to be by Monday right around 12 a.m., and we're looking at more of a wintry mix for Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, as well as southern Arkansas, with a little bit of snow on that northern edge. We're also dealing with some rain over southern Louisiana and southeastern Texas, and this would be by 12 a.m. on Monday, and then here to be by 6 a.m. on Monday. We're looking at a band of snow setting up for parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, where you guys could be dealing with moderate to heavy snow as you're waking up on Monday. And then this would be some of that rain further to the south, with potentially some convective activity along the central Gulf states. And then as we continue this forward, you start to see that by around 3, this would actually be right around 9 a.m. on Monday, and then here would be by right around 12 p.m. on Monday, and then this would be 1 p.m. Eastern time on Monday. So 12 p.m. Central time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We're dealing with some of that snow for eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina, and some of those same areas that are getting impacted with that winter storm right now. And then we have a little pocket of potentially some wintry mix as well, but generally it'll transition to a mostly rain event after that, and then it moves into the mid-Atlantic by Monday night. So this would be right around 7 p.m. Eastern time on Monday, and then here would be by right around 1 a.m. Eastern time on Monday, and on Tuesday there. And we're looking at some of that rain and maybe even a little bit of snow mixing in for some of the higher elevations, moving through portions of the mid-Atlantic and the southeast here. And we're moving on to the lower resolution European model here, and we're looking at this staying mainly to the south, because we will have so much blocking further to the north, bringing in very cold air behind this. So that system will be kind of forced out further to the east, and it might not even make it to Virginia or even Maryland. It'll probably slide down underneath there, and it'll really just slide out to the east if the European model is correct. Although I am going to show you a couple models that actually do bring this up the coast, and you could see maybe a light accumulation if that were to happen. So here's what some of the models are showing with this system, and again, it's not really important to look at the exact totals or how much snowfall this model is outputting, but it's more useful to actually look at where it's putting out that heaviest snowfall. So for example, the heaviest snowfall on the European model is right over western Texas, eastern New Mexico, and then also has another pocket for some of the southern Appalachians. But if we look at what the GFS is showing, it's showing that same area over Texas, but it's not showing nearly as much snowfall for parts of the southeastern United States. So that's what you should be kind of using this tool to look at. Here would be what the Korean model is showing, and they're looking at this staying mainly down into the south central states, not really moving up the coast like what the European model was showing. And then here's what the UKMET model is showing, and this is the UK model, and they're looking at maybe a couple inches of snowfall over northern Texas, northern Louisiana, and again, they're not really showing too much for this area over the Tennessee Valley and the Mid-Atlantic. And then here's the model that actually does bring this up the coast and does provide a little bit of snowfall for some of these areas along the northeast and the Mid-Atlantic, and that's the Canadian model. And we will have to watch this, because even though it's only one model showing it, the atmosphere is definitely cold enough to support snow, so any precipitation that does move further to the north will likely be in the form of either mixed precipitation or snowfall in a lot of these areas. But also, we do have such a big block further to the north that it might not be feasible that this would strengthen enough to actually push into the block, although we will talk about that in a little bit, and we'll talk about how that could happen. But really, the main thing to point out is that the Canadian model also shifts the center of that heaviest snowfall further east in Texas and into northern Louisiana, instead of having that center over western Texas. So that's also something that you want to keep in mind. Now, here's what the European ensemble model is showing, and this is a combination of a bunch of models and what the average is. So this is showing you where the highest confidence is, and we're looking at mainly that highest confidence over this kind of little string of air, a little area where you're looking at maybe 2 to 4 inches of snowfall. That's what most models are showing, and that's what I think I generally agree on. I think at the maximum you might see 5 or 6 inches in a couple isolated locations, but also the European ensemble models are showing a lot more for the mid-Atlantic, and then also they are showing a little pocket near southern New England where you guys could be seeing a little bit of snowfall, depending on exactly where this tracks. Now, here's the system, but we're going to look at the upper air map, and we're going to kind of time this out for you guys on the upper air map, because this is going to indicate why this might or may not move up the coast, and this is going to be very important. So this is the European model, which takes it out to sea. It doesn't bring it up the east coast, and it basically goes from Virginia and North Carolina straight eastward out to sea, and it doesn't really do anything with this system. So this would be by Saturday night. Here would be by Sunday night. Here's by Monday night, and what we really want to pay attention for is, first of all, that we have a low pressure that's trying to move through parts of Ontario and Quebec, Canada, so that might weaken the block slightly. And that might actually open a little window if this does time out well enough, where you have this low pressure sitting over here while this storm is moving up the coast. That could potentially open a window for some snowfall and for that system to potentially move to the north. But I think one of the things that might hinder that is that look how strong this block is, and the red is indicating higher pressure, which in this case is not actually leading to warmer temperatures. It's leading to much colder temperatures because it's a cold Canadian high, which is digging in. So here's your high pressure right up here, and this system is going to be sliding into it, and it's going to try and move up the coast. It's going to really try to do that, but if it doesn't strengthen enough, and if it becomes so weak like the European and the GFS and the other models are showing, then this is just going to slide to the east. It's not going to move further to the north. If this does strengthen, though, it could potentially move up the coast, and it could challenge that high pressure a little bit more, where it would actually kind of try and move further to the north and actually slide just south into parts of Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey there, and that could bring some snow further to the north of that storm track. So if we move this forward, you start to see that low pressure, which in this model does move out to sea, but you can see how if this low pressure system back here, the storm, is further west by this point, where it's weakening that block further to the north, we could see that this system could move up the coast. Now, that would take a couple of things to happen. That would take, first of all, that this system, this low pressure right here, would have to slow down enough where it's still over Quebec and maybe even into Maine by the time that this system is over southeastern Virginia. But also, we would need this block to actually weaken just a little bit so that this system could move up the coast. So there are a couple things that do have to happen, although it's definitely not impossible. And you do see that we see that system move up the coast, at least in the upper levels, but we don't see anything really out from that, and it's so weak by that point that you don't see anything over these regions. Although if it is a little bit stronger, if a couple things do go right, you don't want to really kind of go blind to this idea that could happen. This could definitely be a possibility, and I'll definitely keep on watching it for you guys over the next couple of days. We are still 5 days out from that part of the storm, for that part of the storm over the northeast, so there is still a ton of time for that to change. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.